Hey guys, it's Carolyn. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we have another very interesting discussion with how to innovate your customer experience from a home builder. And I'm very excited to talk to RJ Braegger with Vitruvius Homes out of Utah. How are you doing today, RJ?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. So before we dive into Vitruvius, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be the COO of Vitruvius.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town in northern Utah called Willard. Um, I was around construction my entire life. My dad worked in construction his whole life. My father and my grandfather owned companies, did their own thing all growing up. And so I was exposed to all sides of construction really early on. I played baseball, so I played collegiate and professional baseball. After baseball was over, I came back. Me and my dad started a heavy civil company. We ran that for 3 years, and then he went back to the job that he quit to start the heavy civil company, and I went back to school down in South Utah and finished up my degree. After that, I ran a financial technology company. We did restaurant software, so point of sale software, payments, and then also loyalty programs and back office stuff and all of that. And so that was really my foray into the tech side of things. And then I always knew that I wanted to get back into construction and do software specifically in construction. Like I said, all growing up, I just listened to the conversations my dad and my grandpa were having about all of these pain points that they were going through. And construction is a interesting world because there's so much nuance and there's so many day-to-day judgment decisions and this this sort of culture that's been ingrained in construction for centuries and centuries and centuries of this is the way we do things, even though those things are sometimes irrational and painful. And so I always knew I wanted to get back into construction. And then I met Charles, who's our founder and CEO, and he was, I kind of met my match as far as optimism in the construction space goes, and was able to link up with him. I left my other company, left it in good hands. It's still going great, and jumped over with him to learn more about the luxury home building side of construction.
So how are you using that technology in the home building side, like to transform the customer experience?
Yeah, so that was one of the very first things that I noticed, and Charles had already noticed it, which is the client experience in luxury home building is really, really minimal. It's really not thought of. It's almost an afterthought. And coming from the tech world, the customer experience is like everything. It's like all you think about. And so, when I came over, I kind of had this realization. Like I said, Charles had already had that realization. And so, we started to brainstorm how, first of all, what is it? Like, what is it? Why are clients having this bad experience? And second of all, how do we change that? And it really came down to like the common sense things, right? It's like financials and schedule and communication. And that's like, as long as those things are being fulfilled, unfortunately in our industry, those things aren't fulfilled. Our clients, the houses we build, they're $3, $5, $10 million and up. And the experience that our clients get in literally every other realm of their life is it just doesn't match. And so we started thinking through, how do we use the tools that are already existing in the market to start to kind of bridge this gap. And we realized that those tools don't exist. A lot of the software is outdated. We like to joke that like construction is just catching up to the 90s as far as software goes. Like, and now of course with AI and all the other stuff that's came in the last year or two, we risk as an industry falling even further behind. And so, Charles was willing to put his money where his mouth is, and we actually stood up our own software company, hired a development team, and now we're off to the races fixing this exact thing, fixing the client experience problem. How do we capture the client experience from beginning through the end. And of course, it's interesting with home building because through the end, like they're living in the home for maybe ever, right? And so that's what we're really concentrating on is how do we capture that experience all the way through that process.
So what did your software company develop that you
Yeah,
use?
so we're still early in development on a couple things. The first thing that we are really focusing on is the what we call the visual gap, which is when you're in design of a either architecture or interior design of a luxury house. Um, some people, it's really easy for them to be able to visualize what their home is going to look like from a even from a 3D render on a 2D computer screen. But other people, it's really hard, and of course, the more discrepancies you have, the more change orders are going to come, and the more everybody suffers. And so we are currently in development with Apple Vision Pros, the new Apple headset, AR/VR headset that came out. Um, Being able to bring a 3D fully immersive experience to clients no matter where they are, because that's the other constraint that we have is we build homes in Park City, and most of our clients do not live in Park City. They'll come visit for a month or two a year, and that's it. And so we have to be able to um, show them these things, have them visualize it with us from anywhere in the world. And that's what we're building towards right now, as far as the vision stuff goes. And then as far as the project management suite goes, we've recognized that we're in just such a cool place in time with AI, and how far things came in such a short amount of time, and how far things are going to continue to go. And so, we're really focusing on what does a client dashboard look like. There are of course softwares that open up a portal for the clients, and it's basically just a spreadsheet so they can see their budget. We're really thinking through, all right, what would it look like if we had AI build UI for us, so whatever the client wants, they can just in natural language say, you know how am I tracking on schedule, and where have the delays been, or what can you show me a list of bids for this particular item, just to make sure that they have all of the information that they need presented to them in a way that is digestible for somebody who doesn't understand the nuances of construction and home building and how difficult it can be. And so those are the two avenues that we're going down right now.
So for your clients, do they have like two different agreements, one for the design and then one for the construction?
Yeah. So we do. We're honestly pretty flexible with how we structure these things. We have a lot of different client preferences. Like I said, we're dealing with like some of the most successful high net worth people on the planet, and so they have some particular things that they want and don't want, and we're pretty open to it. But generally speaking, exactly, we'll have a separate design agreement, and then once that design agreement is fulfilled, that will roll over into the actual build agreement.
So what does your current customer process look like when they want to come to you, I want to build a home? What does that look like from their
Yeah, so again, there's a couple different avenues that they take. We find that a lot of our leads and stuff come through partnerships with architects that we've developed, and we have great partnerships with our architects. We like to be involved as early as possible in all of the discussions, just because we have information and data inside of our systems that architects don't have, right? Or that our interior designers will have information that another builder won't have, or whatever that is. And so we try to get involved as early as possible. But as far as like sort of what that client journey looks like, they'll usually find the architect. Of course, we have clients who come to us first, and then we refer or recommend architects. We try to keep things as simple as possible. We don't take any, take fees or anything like that. We just generally love the architect partners that we work with. And then, yeah, once it sort of gets through architecture, they'll come to our in-house designers, and we'll start laying that out. This is where the AR VR stuff really starts to come into play. Being able to, you know, not only see what the house looks like as it comes together, but be able to say, okay, in this laundry room, if I stand up, can I put my arms out? You know, like how much space do I have in here, and really getting that human scale of it. And then, yeah, once the design stuff is all handled and done with, we'll hand that off to one of our construction managers, um, and yeah, start digging dirt and building the house.
So do you find that, I mean, in your experience, the more time you spend with them visualizing and actually see it, does that smooth out the process, make change orders less? How is that beneficial?
Yeah. So what we found is it really speeds up the process, right? Rather than making a revision or three revisions and then bringing it to them with three choices, and then them telling us the choice and then making three more revisions and then bringing another three choices. It's really more of a step-by-step process versus a let us design this whole thing and then change, see what you want to change, and then design the whole thing again and see what you want to change. And so we found that that speeds up the process a lot. And then change orders are another huge thing. You know, if like I said, with some of our clients, they're able to visualize what their house is going to look like, and with other, they're not. And so, you know, if we can show them, you know, here's what your master bedroom looks like with the actual live view corridor that you're going to get, with a king size bed in it. Does it feel small? Does it feel big? Like, what are those feelings that you get that you really just can't? It's really hard to gather that information from a 2D screen.
And it's, so are they making selections at the same time of like what colors they want, of all that stuff at the same time?
Yeah, so in our app currently, that's something we're working on, is exactly that. You know, how do we get some of the catalogs from the big furniture people or paint people or stain, whatever it is? How do we get those catalogs into our app so we can make those on the fly changes while they're in the headset? Um, but no, as of now, it's more, you know, just the impact of being able to sit in your space, even though it is virtually, and have photorealistic renders. We find that is the real power behind stopping the change order fiasco that can ensue.
So tell me about the operation side. So it's one thing to envision this, get the vision out there, but that's another thing to execute. How do you
Mm.
set up your operations to execute such excellent products?
Yeah, so what we do is we have one construction manager per project. And then a construction manager will have between 2 and 3 projects, and that construction manager is responsible for everything. They're responsible for the financials, for the schedule. They are the single point of contact for our clients, um, uh, including accounting. Like, any issue that our clients have, they go to one person. There's not a superintendent that's sort of doing the, you know, the laborious work, and then a project manager doing the admin work, or anything like that. It's just one person. And you know, we found relationships with subcontractors have improved, relationships with clients have improved, just because it creates this very easy line of contact for clients to get, you know, whatever information they need, as well as it creates clarity for us because we have one person creating this schedule. And so, you know, if something changes, it's just a quick change, and there's not this process that has to be, you know, handled exactly correct for the correct information to come.
So do you have processes and stuff in place for that type of person?
Yeah. So honestly, we leave it as open as we feel comfortable with. You know, we hire the best construction managers, certainly in the area, maybe on the planet, and so you know, we give them a very, very high amount of agency. Um, you know, obviously we have accounting controls and oversight, schedule oversight, variance oversight, all of that stuff, but yeah, it's pretty minimal. We give our construction managers a very high amount of agency.
And so what does your training process look for somebody like in that position if you're
Mm.
hiring a new one?
Yeah, yeah. So it's honestly, again, we really pay very close attention to the hiring process and how we're bringing these people on and the specific type of person that we're looking for. And then as far as the training goes, like by the time they get to us, there will be a little bit of training is on the admin side, on the software side. But for the most part, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're the experts in the field. Me personally, I've never built a house. We feel like for me to kind of step in and micromanage in any way is just a massive mistake. I would rather our construction managers make mistakes based off of their own judgment than make a mistake based off of mine when their information has greater detail than I do. And so as far as the training process goes, it's like I said, it's pretty minimal. It's a couple weeks in office, making sure that they're up to date and up to speed on all of the software stuff that we do, and then after that, it's introduce them to a client and let them go do what they love.
So then what's the secret to finding good people like that?
That becomes difficult. It definitely becomes difficult. It's honestly just time. Like we're really patient as we're hiring for people. I think we've been looking for our next construction manager for like 3 or 4 months now. And so yeah, it's just time. It's time. It's making sure that obviously that they have the pedigree that we can trust them to do the job, and then B, that they're culturally going to fit in, understand where we're going as a company, almost intuitively. And as long as those two things fit, we've had really, really good luck with who we've hired.
And like a cultural fit, do you find that through an interview? Do you any kind of, I know a lot of companies do like those different tests to see where they are on different scales. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, so we're pretty small right now. I think we have about 20 employees, and so as of right now, it's like it's our CEO and our director of construction operations. They'll get a feel for the person. They'll make sure that they both check off on the person. I'll obviously interview with them and and get to know them a little bit. And then yeah, like that's pretty much it. We, like I said, it's easier for us. We know where we're going. We know how we're different than other home builders, and so we can get a pretty good feel. The construction industry in general is pretty like technophobic, and they don't love technology. And so if we can understand that the construction manager that we're hiring has an understanding and an appreciation of technology, as well as, like I said, the pedigree and just generally, like, it's the Steve Jobs rule of like, would you have a beer with this person? That's pretty much what it comes down to.
So what makes you guys so different than other home builders?
It's our focus on technology is the biggest thing, and then a derivative of that, of course, is the focus on client experience. We've came to the realization that transparency is unfortunately pretty low in our industry, and it shouldn't be. We have all of the data, we have all of the invoices, we have all of the schedules, we have all of the contact with our bid requests and all of that. Why don't you just make those things open to clients? Nobody does. We do. And then, like I said, with the technology, it's fixing these issues and putting our money where our mouth is to fix these issues. We feel like a lot of it can be done through software. A lot of the issues that arise in construction can be mitigated at least through software. And so that's that's really the thing that makes us really different, is we're really focused on making the process better versus just building a better home.
Gotcha. And so how do you elevate the communication with the client? How do you make it easier? Do you have scheduled meetings? What does that look like?
Yeah, so once a month, we'll have our project wellness meeting, which is just a CM. If there's any issues or if there's any good things, I'll jump on there. Our director of construction operations will jump on. and then, and then we make ourselves fully open. Like I said, with our construction managers, they're managing 2 or 3 jobs. So they are pretty much like 24/7 open to clients. If there's issues or if there's good things, we found like even small things like taking a picture of a beautiful sunrise that we get in Park City and sending that to the client from what their view is going to look like. Just little things like that. Just just like having a genuine love for the client goes further than most people realize, I think.
No, I agree. And I think the industry as a general can use improvement on communication and all of that. It really helps avoid disputes and all
Hmm.
that, just being upfront, and the more that they can be involved in the process, the better it'll become.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I know you mentioned earlier about having improved relationships with subs. How do you do that, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so our subcontractors are, I mean, they're essentially building the houses that we're putting our name on, and so those relationships are vital, like absolutely vital to us. And going back to the software stuff, it's asking ourselves, okay, how do we not only make this experience better for our clients, how do we make it better for everybody in this chain? And subcontractors are a major part of that. And so some of the stuff we're thinking about and building out with subcontractors is how do we make it as easy as possible for them to submit an invoice, right? So they don't have to sit at their table after maybe working 15 hours that day putting in our cabinets for us and doing a beautiful job, and then they have to go and invoice us and get paid. How do we do that? How do we shorten the pay cycle time?
Mhm.
Some subcontractors, they won't get paid for 60, 90 days. And so we're building out in our software a way for them to get paid next day. Like, you submit an invoice to us, it get approved. Next day, you'll have money in your bank account. We found that things like that, and um, really building out tools for them, because they're even more unseen in the technology world than general contractors are. There's nothing for them, and the tools that do exist, they don't actually help them. Like, yeah, you can make an invoice and send it out, but you can do that on Microsoft Word.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, thinking through um, how we can make their life as easy as possible so they can continue being just the amazing craftsmen that they are, and bringing them in for these conversations, asking them, man, what would make your life easier? Because as we develop this software, we can make whatever we want to make. And so yeah, bringing those subcontractors in, and having them be involved and be heard and be understood, and really having their best interest in mind as well. Not um, like I said, not having those 60 or 90-day pay cycles. Like, that's what they really care about. The majority of them are extremely small businesses. If I can get you $100,000 check today versus 90 days, that is a really big deal for them. And so, yeah, that's where we found the most fit with our subcontractors, and what they really appreciate, versus just being friends with them, which is obviously extremely important as well. But there's more to it than that, I guess.
And so I know, I'm sure you work with a lot of subs over and over again, but if you have a new sub joining on, is there any kind of like screening process or anything? Look at their work or the referrals, or is there anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So exactly everything you just said. If a new subcontractor reaches out to us, our CEO or director of build operations will vet them, have a quick conversation with them. You can learn a lot from a 10-minute phone call, especially when you know what you're doing. You can really figure out when people don't know what they're doing. And then, yeah, just, talking to them about who they've worked for in the past, where they've worked in the past. If they've worked for, one of our competitors in the market that we know builds amazing homes, then we have a pretty good idea that they can do that type of work. And then after that, it's we have a process for all of the compliance stuff, just to make that as easy as possible. And yeah.
Good. So question, you're working on this software to better your business. Once you're completed, would you sell it or make it available to other home builders?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. We're still up in the air a little bit with that. If we can capture the type of value that we believe we can, we'll just keep it in house and just scale this home building business the way that we feel like we can. But we're also very open. Like if we're doing something that is really helping subcontractors, is really helping small businesses, is really creating a client experience that's better, then we'd be open to sharing that to the rest of the market as well.
Because I really think that's something lacking in the construction industry in general, but especially on the residential side. Most home builders are small businesses, work with small subs, and so
Yep.
the idea of developing something is just, and the stuff that's out there is okay, but not anything like
Exactly.
especially to elevate
Exactly. And that's,
experience.
yeah. So what we found with the current softwares that are out there, there's like one of two ways that it's built. It's either like a tech person who goes get some advisors that build homes and takes their input and builds it, or it's a construction person that has no idea what they're doing with the tech, but has felt the pain. And that's where we feel like our main advantage is like, I've sat through the 16-hour day during a compliance audit, like tracking down these general liability policies. Like we've felt all of this daily nuance pain. We've had the invoice come in with like the address is 123 Fig Street. Like we've felt all of these little pains that happen, and so we're really just like creating a painkiller for ourselves. And so that it makes building out the software so much easier that it's almost comical to think about trying to do it in a different way as far as construction goes. It's so nuanced on a daily basis. There are so many things that are not the same as yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
And so yeah, that's where we feel like the biggest advantage that we have with the software stuff lies.
Awesome. So if people want to find out more about what you're doing or find out about Vitruvius, where would they go?
Yeah, so website is vitruvius.design. And then the software site is viusbuilt.com. The software stuff is very much in the beginning stages of things. We're rapidly developing stuff. Our development team is like very, very hard at work, going faster than even I expected. And I had pretty high expectations. And so, but yeah, as far as the home building stuff goes, it's Vitruvius Design. We're in Park City, Utah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a gorgeous website. I checked it out. So you guys should
Thank you.
check it out. We'll
Thank
put it
you.
all in the show notes. But thank you very much
Awesome.
for taking the time to explain all this to us.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.